In Total War Pharaoh Dynasties, along with an expanded map, the campaign included a number of minor factions. One of these is the Shutrukid Dynasty, which ruled Elam in the 12th century BC. While they are shown in-game as a minor faction, lacking a unique leader and a limited roster of regional-themed units, Elam, under the Shutrukids, would become a major player in Mesopotamia during the end of the Bronze Age. Most notably, it played a major role in the downfall of one of the major powers of the late Bronze Age Middle East, the Kassite Dynasty of Babylon. In this video, we'll cover the Shutrukids of Elam, how they are represented in Total War Pharaoh, and their history during the Bronze Age collapse. The land of Elam was located in what is now Khuzestan province in southwestern Iran. Total War Pharaoh shows the region at the eastern edge of the map, bordered by southern Mesopotamia and the Persian Gulf. Elam was home to one of the major Bronze Age civilizations, known for its connections with Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley civilization. Two of its most prominent cities were Anshan and Susa. Elamite rulers often styled themselves as king of the two cities. During the early Elamite period, the city of Susa was heavily influenced by Mesopotamia, due to its proximity to the region and its conquest by the Akkadian and later Neo-Sumerian empires during the mid to late 3rd millennium BC. This was seen in the region's introduction to Mesopotamian gods, architectural style, and cuneiform writing. It also led to a language divide, with the region's highlands retaining the Elamite language while Susa primarily used Akkadian. However, during the Middle Elamite period in the 1400s BC, the region saw a turn toward Elamization. During the rule of the Igihalkid dynasty, the Akkadian language was gradually replaced with Elamite as the kingdom's primary language. The Elamite language and the city of Susa would retain their importance in the region well after the Bronze Age. The language remained in use by the later Achaemenid Persian Empire, and Susa was used as one of its capitals. Elamization also impacted the region's religion, with the native gods of the highlands being placed on equal footing with their Mesopotamian counterparts during the Igihalkid dynasty. The continued worship of Mesopotamian gods and the construction of the ziggurat Choka-Zanbul shows that while there was a turn toward Elamization, Mesopotamian culture remained highly influential. Also known as Dur-Untash, it was built during the reign of the Igihalkid king Untash-Naparisha. It shows the lasting influence of Mesopotamian culture and religion on Elam, even after the region's turn toward Elamization under the Igihalkid kings. Choka-Zanbul is similar to other ziggurats in Mesopotamia, such as the Sumerian Great Ziggurat of Ur or the Kassite Dur-Kurigalzu. It was dedicated to both Elamite and Mesopotamian gods, showing a union of the Akkadian-influenced Susa and the Elamite-speaking highlands. In Dynasties, Choka-Zanbul is shown to be primarily dedicated to Inshushinak, who is also the main god of the Shutrukid faction at the start of the game. The lasting influence of Mesopotamia on Elam was also reflected in the kingdom's foreign relations, particularly with the Kassite Dynasty of Babylon. The two sides frequently engaged each other in both warfare and royal marriages, showing that Elam was still connected to the Mesopotamian world even after the Elamization period. By Total War Pharaoh's start date of 1205 BC, Elam is depicted as being divided between the Shutrukids, who control southern Elam and the city of Susa, and the Igihalkids, who control the north. The Igihalkids are shown to be led by Kidin-Hutran III, while Halutash Inshushinak leads the Shutrukids. A possible reason for this setup could be that historians do not know how the Shutrukids replaced the Igihalkid dynasty as the rulers of Elam. We know Kidin-Hutran was a contemporary of the Babylonian king and major leader in dynasties Adad-Shuma-Usur, and probably died during his reign. However, beyond that, we don't know much. In addition, we know even less about Halutash. All we know is his name. King Shutruk-Nahunte repeatedly referred to Halutash as his father. While Shutruk historically wouldn't take the throne for another 10 to 20 years after the start date, the game depicts him as a child and his father ruling only a part of a divided Elam. This could be a theoretical scenario depicted in Dynasties of how the Shutrukid dynasty took charge of Elam at the turn of the 12th century BC. While we don't know much about King Halutash, we know much more about his son Shutruk-Nahunte. Like other Elamite kings, Shutruk married into the Kassite royal family of Babylon, the daughter of the Babylonian king Melishipak II and granddaughter of King Adad-Shuma-Usur. This would lead Elam to be further involved in Mesopotamian politics. Most notably, in 1158, Shutruk invaded Mesopotamia and successfully defeated the Kassites. In addition to further weakening Babylon, Shutruk's invasion also saw loot taken from Mesopotamian cities back to Susa, the most famous of which included the Code of Hammurabi and the victory stele of the Akkadian king Naram-Sin. Shutruk had a message carved into the stele in which he mentions his father Halutash, praises the god Inshushinak, and it was the god who ordered him to invade the Mesopotamian city of Sippar. This was one of a few inscriptions on loot taken from Mesopotamia in which Shutruk boasted of his conquests, enlarging the Elamite kingdom and offering sacred Akkadian relics to Inshushinak. These inscriptions also indicate that during the mid-12th century BC, the Elamites were possibly waging repeated wars against the Kassites in central and southern Mesopotamia and were winning. Shutruk-Nakhunte died in 1155 BC and was succeeded by his son Kutir-Nakhunte. That same year, Kutir faced the Kassites in battle. The result was a decisive Elamite victory, and like his father, Kutir celebrated his victory over the Kassites by taking captured loot back to Elam. The Elamites marched on Babylon and looted many of the city's temples. Most famously, they took the statue of Marduk, the patron god of the city. With the Elamite victory and the subsequent sacking of Babylon, the Kassite dynasty, one of the major powers in the late Bronze Age Middle East, collapsed. Mesopotamia, following the collapse of the Kassites, became divided as the Elamites, Assyrians, migrating tribes, and local rulers all fought for control over the region. One of these local rulers was Nebuchadnezzar I, a member of the Second Esan dynasty, the successors of the Kassites as rulers of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar would avenge the Kassites by invading Elam in 1110s BC. He defeated the Elamites and took back the sacred statue of Marduk and returned it to Babylon. The Shutrukids' defeat at the hands of the Babylonians ended their brief period as one of the major powers in Mesopotamia and marked their gradual decline and eventual fall. It is interesting to see that in Total War Pharaoh Dynasties, even a minor faction at the edge of the map like the Shutrukids still has plenty of history behind it, showing what the political situation Elam could have looked like during the fall of the Igihalkid dynasty and the rise of Shutruk-Nakhunte. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.